What's up guys, Spencer Sakurai here. Today we are going to talk about the Aputure Spotlight mount. Now this is a new mount that just came out today. Aputure was nice enough to send me one, a pre-production model to play with before it was released. Now they did not sponsor this video or anything, they just simply asked if I wanted to play with it, see what I thought about it, kind of get my thoughts on the new mount. And I of course obliged because I love playing with new light things. Anything that I can find, any tool that I can get that can help me work quicker on set or help me modify light in a different way, I'm all about that. Now Aputure is kind of a new company and they've been slowly modifying their lights over the past few years and they're getting better and better and better. This new mount is an amazing addition to their lineup. Aputure has the 120D and the 300D in their kind of cob style LED lineup in their lights. And this is a modifier that fits onto those lights. Actually, it's kind of funny. The light actually fits onto the modifier. It's a bit different. It's something that I haven't really seen before. Rather than mounting it to the light itself on the bones mount, you actually use the bones mount to mount the light to the fixture itself. So what Aputure has actually created here is kind of like the Lico modifiers that you'll find on a lot of lights from Hollywood back in the day. Or actually, I think they were actually more specifically used in theater, and they still are. You know, it's a modifier that has sliding doors inside the light so you can cut and shape the light how you want rather than just having a circular light source. Something you see all the time in like theater productions, you know, they get a spotlight on their subject. They use a Lico adapter on their lights to do this. So not only does it act as a spotlight, it has these kind of cutters inside of it so you can push those around and shape the light how you please and not just be fixed on a circular source. So if you've used the Aputure lights before, normally you just have that can that goes on the front of the light, and that will give you this like very specific beam angle, very specific circular source. And it's kind of hard to modify. You have to have something else in the room to kind of cut that light. But with this, you put that mount on there, you can cut it any way you please. And now this can be handy for certain situations, like maybe if you need a light in an area that you can't really get a light to, or maybe you don't have a light small enough to put it into like a corner of something, or maybe just out of frame. So what you can do with this, rather than having to like shoot a light and spread it all over the room and try to find like little nook and cranny to bounce it off of, you can put up a bounce card or use the wall or whatever. So in this situation here, you could see that like maybe you wanted to have like a lamp effect or something like that. So all I did was shoot it into the wall, but I took those cutters and I slid those around until I had a source the size that I wanted it and it didn't spill all over the room. Or say you wanted to bounce it off a surface, you can put a little bounce card next to your subject or whatever, and you can shoot just into that bounce card. You're not gonna have any spill because you can completely control the shape of your light. So that's the basic function of a Lico modifier, and that's what they've done here with the spotlight mount. But not only have they done that, they've made it to where you can focus it in and out, as well as they've added these little modifiers to it. So one thing that's really obvious and that's really helpful is a little gel holder. So if you remember back when I did my lighting formula video, I had a purple gel that I used for the Blade Runner scene. So I just cut a little square out of that gel and I put it inside this holder, and I was able to pop it right in front of the light, and it took, just a couple seconds, and I was able to gel the light. It holds it in place, and you don't have to worry about clipping on gels or them falling off or burning or whatever like you used to back with older lights. So something else that's super helpful about this mount is it came with these little cookie style gobos. They're like a cookie. A cookie is something that you cut out in a shape, in a template basically, to give an effect to the background through a light. So like say you wanted foliage, or you wanted blinds, or you wanted like some sort of tree branches in the background, you would cut out something to kind of break up the light and put it in front of the light to put that on a wall or a surface. So this is already built into it. So basically you've got three modifiers that you can use. One is foliage, one is trees, and one is like blinds from a window. So the blinds from the window was an awesome thing. It's an awesome effect to show that you're in daylight. So I thought I would light a scene using these gobos to kind of show you what they can do. So the first setup, I used the blinds kind of in the background, and I wasn't really buying it. It was working, but I only had an Aputure 120D and a 300D, and I couldn't really fill up the room enough to make it look like daylight. So I decided to switch things up. So I swapped angles a little bit, moved in a little bit closer, and I think I really made something that looks like daylight. Now by using the blinds effect, it really sells that daylight look, and it was so easy to set up. I didn't actually have to put a light outside of a window. I didn't even have a window in my loft that actually fits blinds like that. But I was able to just drop in that gobo and set up the positioning just right, light my subject just right, and it looks like it's pure daylight. But actually it was like 8 or 9 o'clock at night and there was no sunlight outside at all. But then I decided to switch that out with the tree gobo just to see what that kind of looked like. And then I was gonna try to make it look more like a nighttime vibe. So I dropped in that gobo and I dropped in a purple gel because it's the only gel I had, but I thought it might work for moonlight depending on the color temperature. And then I decided to move around my Aputure 120D a little bit to kind of make it feel more like a toppy kind of interior tungsten light or something like that, which I didn't have a tungsten gel for that, an orange gel for that. So I just kind of did my best with what I had. But you can see how quickly you can set up a scene and make it look realistic super fast. Before, you would have to have taken like some foam core or something and cut holes in it and placed it in a light just right, and then cut the light off the edges of the foam core to make sure it's not spilling everywhere. But with this, you have a focused light that's 100% controllable, and you can just drop in those gobos and go. It was kind of amazing how fast I was able to do these setups. Like, it took no time at all. I'm talking like 30 minutes tops, and I was able to finesse these and make it look like it was pure daylight in here, or make it look like there was moonlight coming in from outside, and there just simply wasn't. So another feature that I really like about this light is that you can focus in your light just like you would do with the Fresnel attachment that I've used in a previous video, like my Handmaid's Tale video. I use that Fresnel attachment to get a nice beam of light in that video. Well, you can do the same thing here. You can focus in your light however you want. You can zoom it in and out basically, and you can get a nice light shaft if you're trying to create that look or that effect. That kind of helps make it worth the cost. So the cost of this attachment is around $600. I want to say I have a pre-production model and it comes out today. I'm not sure if they've changed the cost or not. So I think the cost of it sounds kind of expensive at first. But when you realize how much it can do for just one modifier, that might change your mind. So not only does it act as a LEGO attachment, but also you can change the focus of the light. It has those gobos that you can just drop in, and you can just change the look of your scene really, really fast. It has gel attachments, which is amazing. And it also can spotlight in just like the Fresnel attachment. So it's kind of like 3 or 4 modifiers in one. And then to top that all off, it's super sturdy. So the fact that it has to hold the Aputure light on the other end of it, and it's not the other way around, this thing is beefy. It's built really well. I recommend putting it on a C-stand and not on a regular light stand. I'm sure you could use it on a regular light stand, but for me, I just felt safer just putting it on a C-stand, everything really nice and tight and locked in, and it's built really well, and it's just really beefy, and it holds up the other light with no problems. You can just stick that light on there and it clicks right on when the Bowens mount, and I just never felt at all like it was gonna fall apart or anything like that. And then to light the opening beer can scene, I used the spotlight. I had it obviously focused in on the cup on the table for most of the shots, and then I just moved the Aputure 120D around accordingly just to kind of give a little extra shape and light to the scene. And obviously I used a little fog in the background to kind of help sell that dramatic look of the beer on the table. Something else I forgot to mention is that it has a little modifier that you can drop in to change how big the light source is without using the cutters. Basically like a little iris. You drop that in the same spot that you would put the gobo. It has a little door that slides open. You drop that in, and then you can adjust the iris as you please. And that's what I used for when I did the beer scene at the beginning of this video. I felt like the spotlight was just too big, so I dropped that in, and then I just tweaked the iris ever so slightly, and it made the aperture close a little bit. And then I can hone in that spotlight effect just right on the table. So this modifier just does so much. It just has so many things built into it. I think it's really awesome. And like I said, this video is not sponsored by them or anything, but I really enjoy this light, and I'm really glad I got to play with it. And I think that you would enjoy it too. It'll make your life on set much easier. Well, if you can hear that, it's thundering and lightning now, and I have a metal roof, so it's gonna get really loud in here, so I better wrap this up. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if you wanna purchase any of the gear that you saw in this video, the links to that equipment is down in the description. Something else I forgot to mention is it came in this really awesome carrying case. It's like a pretty beefy case that it sits in, because it's a pretty heavy thing. So I think this would come in really handy. It's great that Aputure always includes really awesome cases with their modifiers and lights. I think it's just something that's really cool that Aputure does. So anyways, see you guys.